Broads Media.
Oh! 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 Before we talk about this, before we discuss it, we are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button too. I greatly appreciate it. On Twitter, @Broads81. We just hit 6,000 followers. Make sure you head on over there for some awesome in-game tweets when there's not a game. And right now we're working on a hashtag that's flowing around the Phillies Twitter world. Hashtag FlipBroads the Double Bird. For all of the aggressive things I stated about this team over the first 100 or so games, which were very valid at the time, they are shutting me up by flipping me the double bird. Therefore, hashtag FlipBroads the Double Bird. Make sure you tweet that out during all of your Phillies games, tweets, and all of that. So with that said, thank you all so much, and enjoy the show. This is going to be difficult. I'll be honest with you. It's going to be hard for me to keep in my emotions because what I just witnessed was pretty damn exciting. Citizens Bank Park was filled with fire. The fuel that was handed to this team was insane by the buzz of the city, and then the energy given by Kyle Gibson, Hector Neris, even Brad Miller, even though I'm pissed off with him for the mistake that he made in the fourth inning, he was showing some fire as well. This team is playing with fight, and they are playing with passion. Now, ultimately, I claim that I would wait until this series is over to fully give my reassessment and my new thought, but I'm not going to fake how I feel right now. I'm pretty damn fired up. Thinking about that Bryce Harper bomb in the 8th inning where Diaz had the audacity to point up to the sky as if it was a pop-up. That ball was crushed, you jerk off. On top of that, the Mets are making mistakes. There's an error by VR over at third base to put Gene Segura at first for it to be a 2-run shot instead of a solo shot. And quite frankly, I don't want to lose sight at what really went down. I mean, let's be realistic. This was an ugly-ass baseball game where both teams, for majority of the action, showed why this is a division of hell and a division of bad baseball, right? Conforto over in right field, that Brad Miller triple in the 5th that ended up being huge because Kyle Gibson, of all people, knocked him in. That made the score 2-1 at the time. 2-0 count. Here's Kyle Gibson up at the dish, just delivering a beautiful stroke, a beautiful swing. Lovely, just lovely, doing it in every single way possible. Kyle Gibson did. But anyway, what's going on with Conforto over there? You get the bases loaded in the 4th if you're the Mets, and they can't score a damn run, and here comes a ground ball double play. Let's go! There was a double play in the 6th inning as well from this squad. I mean, the Mets met. That's very true. The Mets met. The Mets met? The Mets metted. The Mets metted. Just like I asked the question. What I'm referencing here with that horrendous structure of a sentence is a day ago, I said the Phillies Philly. That's what they do. The Phillies Philly. As much as the Mets met, the Phillies Philly. They both kind of applied that logic to this game. The Phillies defense sucked. They were absolutely miserable on the defensive side of the diamond. Alec Boehm's unplayable. He registered 2 errors technically by the scorecard. That Javier Baez single. I don't give a damn what you want to try and convince me. Reality is he needs to make that play as well. I counted 3 errors for Alec Boehm, and quite frankly, it's unplayable. You cannot have him out on the field. What I consistently see on social media is you can't put Alec Boehm out there in late game close situations. I don't care if a run is scored because of Alec Boehm's error happens in the 2nd inning or 7th inning. It's still damage that is done that's totally unacceptable. Now, I know he's going to play, or maybe not though. Maybe Freddie Galvis returns and they realize this cannot happen. This will not be allowed on our team. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what direction they go in. And now with Didi Gregorius getting hit in the elbow, things don't look too good. You already are missing Rhys Hoskins due to the groin and Andrew McCutchen. So you lose Didi, And he showed the power. He started you off with a 1-0 lead because of that beautiful stroke. And he's definitely seeing the baseball better as of late. There's no denying it. Juan Soto robbed him from a homer the other night when they were in Washington, D.C. There's something to be said about the groove that Didi Gregorius is getting on offensively. And for him to miss some time, that's not going to be good. You can see the replay. It hit square. It hit bare right there in that elbow. So I'm sure we're going to hear some significant news and something bad. I'm definitely thinking of the worst because I'm looking at his track record, his history this season, and that's no bueno. I mean, the worst case scenario possible is basically what happened to Didi Gregorius tonight. So, I'm just praying that he will he'll I don't know, get the best possible news that he can get for this current situation. With the Rhys Hoskins groin, I'm interested to see how they elect to utilize this moving forward. Was this really a serious, significant injury for Rhys Hoskins? Or is this what the Phillies like to do, and it's more along the lines of, we're going to have precautionary measures, and we don't want to push Rhys Hoskins too far, so in the biggest game of our season, and our biggest homestand, and our biggest stretch against a team that's ahead of us, and we're a half game back of the division, we are going to sit Rhys Hoskins. I don't care what they tell you. I don't believe a lot of the information that they say. Another big element of this is Joe Girardi was asked about the statistics prior to this matchup against Stroman, and I do have the statistic right here. Rhys Hoskins is 1 for 11 with 3 strikeouts against Mets starter Marcus Stroman. Now, Joe said that had nothing to do with it, and there was no impact at all. That had no impact on the decision. I just don't know how I feel about that because I can easily see the Phillies just lie and baby Rhys Hoskins, whether it's not as bad as what it really is, the groin injury, and they just want to make sure that they're taking all of the easy precautionary measures, or if they're afraid of having Rhys in there due to the statistics side of things. So, we'll never know, but that's why I'm fascinated. How will he be used? Will he play tomorrow? Will he not play tomorrow? I did see a moment where Brad Miller was up, and keep in mind, he played first base. It was a lefty-lefty matchup. There were men on base for the Phils. Maybe a scenario Rhys Hoskins would have pinch hit if he was not in a lot of pain, if it was not a severe problem. So I'm looking at both angles here. I will admit that there was a decision made of keeping Brad Miller in the game in that moment where maybe Rhys, if he was available and could pinch hit and it wasn't as bad as what they're saying, maybe he would have got his number called. So I'm not ruling it out that it possibly just could be the groin. I just have to cover all bases here. I have to look at the entire package and the entire product because you just never know when they inform you things or if they tell you some things. So yeah, basically, this game was all over the map and it was ugly. It was a really ugly game of baseball, but sometimes you got to win ugly. Good teams win ugly, and the Phillies just won 6 straight baseball games. The fire coming from this team. There's something to be said about the way that they're loving the game right now and the intensity and the swagger that they are approaching. No doubt about it. And I heard after the game on Post-Game Live, they were talking about Bryce Harper and the way that he speaks about some of his teammates. And Kyle Gibson is clearly somebody new. The way that his presence is felt. He's been around the block. He's seen a lot of baseball. I've asked 1 billion times this year, last year, and the year before, who is the leader of this team? I'm not telling you Kyle Gibson just took over the entire franchise and took over the clubhouse, but there's something to be said about grabbing an individual of his caliber and his pedigree, and the season that he's having now adds that bonus too of him coming in there with confidence, him coming there with some attitude, and being the dog that he's been for his 2 starts so far, wearing the Philadelphia Phillies jersey. Now, let's continue to talk about pitching, shall we? I was informed by a lot of individuals that Hector Neris sucks and he's the worst pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball. And I tried explaining that he has bad moments as a closer and he's had tough stretches, but he is a Major League Baseball caliber pitcher. He came in the 7th inning and was awesome and has been, for a nice stretch of time now, a key contributor for the Phillies. If you go back and look at his recent outings, Hector Neris has been smooth for a chunk of time, like a serious chunk of time. So if it ever goes back down the path of he gets into a funk and maybe it heads in the other direction, don't say he's never done anything. He can absolutely provide you this type of noise, and he did that for sure. He's fist pumping. He did the squat, fist pump, double glove tap. He brought it all out. So he was cruising with that fire. Same with Archie Bradley, who got some help from Joe West behind the dish in that 8th inning. We can't lie. That outside pitch to ring up the Mets for that 3rd out. Come on now, man. That was like 5 feet off the plate. Although, throughout the game, I guess this is the most cliche thing to say about baseball, but as long as you're consistent, it could be a bad strike zone, but be a bad strike zone the whole game and give pitchers the same pitches and the hitters the same pitches so they know what they have to protect and what they have to battle with and things of that nature. And Joe West, I mean, it was bad, but he had that pitch all night long for a lot of these pitches and a lot of these sequences. So I guess from that angle, you can be okay with it. Maybe, maybe not. Archie Bradley, though, come on now. He's been playing well, too, though. He's been pitching with a lot, too. Keep in mind, he was injured. He was banged up. He had a lot of problems early on. But once he got back to being healthy and he was available for this team, he's been pretty much a reliable piece for you. Ian Kennedy, not so much. I tweeted this out during the game along with multiple other things, and we'll get to my hashtag in just a second. But with Ian Kennedy, I could have sworn David Hale just changed jerseys because he goes up there, here comes a bomb, opposite field. All right, here we go. That's what he does. Now, he settled in afterwards, and it was a 4-1 lead, and that's why you have in shorts. At the same time, though, I do not trust him in a close game. If it's a 1-run game or a 2-run game, if I'm Joe Girardi, I'm looking at other options. I really am. And I know you brought him in here to close, and that's something that he's been vocal about, and he wants to do it, but it's not what's best for this team. Right now, my favorite option, and I'm not telling you I am obsessed with this option by any means, my favorite option right now, just based off of the most recent success in the most recent players, it might be Archie Bradley. It might be. It's not Jose. It's not Hector. It's not Hector right now because he's kind of found himself in this new little identity, this new little role. So it's not Jose. It's not Hector. It's not Ian Kennedy. What do you got? What do you got? It might be Archie Bradley. But I sense they're going to continue to try and force this down your throat just to justify some things. And technically, he got the job done and the goal was accomplished today, although it wasn't the smoothest route. And I've seen enough out of Ian Kennedy to kind of know here in this short sample size that it's going to be nerve-wracking. And I guess, to be fair, every option is going to be nerve-wracking. There's no one that I fully feel so confident in where I don't have any issues whatsoever. No, there's always going to be a bit of a pit in my stomach, regardless of who gets the nod and who comes out of the bullpen. So to keep that in mind, I'm definitely doing that. As in, I'm definitely keeping that in mind. Okay, so Gene in the 2-hole. I thought maybe Odubel would lead off, or maybe Jankowski would lead off. What ended up happening was Odubel was in the leadoff spot. Jankowski was down at the bottom of the lineup, right above the pitching spot in the batting order, so he batted 8th. This is why I like Gene in the 2-hole, though. He's hitting .309 in the second spot with an .838 OPS. This is prior to tonight's outing. He hits .269 leading off with .782 OPS, which is fine. It's obviously not bad, and I'm not criticizing him whatsoever for basically batting .270 in the leadoff spot. But I think he brings tremendous value with the way that he approaches the plate, and if someone does get on in front of him, then he's even being more lethal. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you ever heard of this individual or if you ever seen the way that he's been swinging the bat right now, but after Gene Segura, you have a little something called Bryce Harper, who is ridiculous right now. So just think about it. Think about the damage that could be done with anyone who can give you something at the leadoff spot. And maybe it's Odubel. I don't know. I don't feel extremely solid about it, but it's there. And Gene taps into it, gets a single. Now you got first and second. Who's up? The top dog. This is the Bryce Harper that we expected. It really is. This is the Bryce Harper. We talk about making that signing a few years ago and everyone going nuts and the city going bonkers. This is what we expected to get for a serious window of time, especially in these prime years. Not so much towards the end of that 13-year contract, but right now the juiciness of it. It wasn't 260 and 35 homers. It wasn't 260 and 35 homers. It was this. And I'm not knocking him for that season. He had 114 RBI, 35 homers, a 268 batting average, and a total of 99 walks. That's not a bad season at all. It's not a bad season at all. This, though, the over 300, the long period of time of dominance. He is taking over right now on the field. A week ago, I was on 97.5 The Fanatic, and they just lost 2 straight games to the Pirates. It's crazy how 1 week changes this much. They lost 2 straight to the Pirates, and I'm asking the question, outside of on the field with Bryce Harper, the intangibles, the little things, what we praise Jalen Hurts about, do we have that in Bryce Harper? 1 week later, now they're in first place. They're a half game up of the New York Mets. The Braves are still sneaking away here, and they're somewhat sliding under the radar. Something we should absolutely emphasize and keep our brain on is the Braves, and they're continuing to move. We could be a situation where it comes down between the Braves and the Phillies, and the Mets are in la-la land with Francisco Lindor being injured, with Jacob deGrom being injured, and I just wonder how much that impacted the clubhouse on the way that they feel and their approach every single day. When you lose top guns like that, it's really brutal, and their offense sucks. They can't contribute, and they can't get those timely hits, and sometimes they'll have the bases loaded. It happened in that Marlins series, too. The amount of times they put stress on the Marlins, and maybe they're gripping the bat too tight or they're thinking too much when they're at the plate, but they can't get that extra added bonus when they need to, whenever there are players on base or wherever there is traffic on the base paths. This Bryce Harper, though, whew. And speaking of the trending on Twitter, right, or the topic and the hashtag on Twitter. Hashtag FlipBroads the double bird. That's because I was extremely hard on this team all year. I wanted them to sell, and quite frankly, I still can support my logic at the time for wanting them to sell, even though we have hindsight right now. Here's one thing that I will say, and I brought this up because I hosted The Fanatic tonight. I filled in for Devon Gibbons, so I was on watching the game, live reacting on the radio while the game was going down. We have a big TV in studio. I love that. Bro, you're going to miss the game. No, I'm not. There's a huge TV screen in the middle of the studio. I'm not missing the Phillies game when I'm on the radio. But I asked this question. I thought it was interesting to hear the responses and how people felt. So it's obvious that I was so damn hard on this team, as I should have been. But one thing I never did when screaming about how embarrassing they were, how disturbing they were, and to be fair, they had so many disturbing, horrible, awful, pathetic moments in this game too. They had another game of 3 errors and won. They should have had 4 errors. And by the way, Odubel Herrera had a slide out in left field, and it was a tough play to try and make that play, but he dove, and they had a leadoff double in the 5th inning right after that 4th inning happened. Not able to execute. The Mets were not, which is just laughable. Just real quick, because I'm thinking of errors and sloppiness, and Alec Boehm is one of those. In the 6th inning, he's up at the dish. There's 2 guys on. Not able to execute. Looked pretty lost up there at the dish with a terrible swing and a miss for a strikeout. So that was there. While I have been all over this team, and deservingly so, one thing I never did do, and I'm going to praise myself for this, but I'm curious your thoughts in the comments section. As much as I screamed, as much as I lost my mind, and as much as this team made me lose sleep and I couldn't stand it, I watched every game and I watched every pitch. So it wasn't as if I jumped ship and said, I'm never watching this team. I'm done with this team and I'm never giving them my time. Throughout this entire journey of disgrace and upset baseball, I sat through it all and I talked about it all and I discussed it all. So there's got to be an element to that. If there's one thing that I do deserve a little hat tip for throughout this terrible, terrible 100 games before we got to this point now where we are sitting a half game up of the New York Mets and we are in first place, there was one thing I did, and that's continued to watch the crap. So I'm going to give myself a little bat pack. Back pat. Bat pack. Jesus Christ. No, a back pat. That's right. That's right. Here we are. All right, Broach, you might have lost your damn mind. Might have screamed for hours and hours and hours and days of time about sell, sell, sell. Because, one thing I keep hearing is, Broach, you can't enjoy this. You're not allowed because you gave up. Well, that's foolish. I held them accountable, and I didn't give up. I was reacting to what they gave me. If you felt anything, like what you see now, if you saw them play earlier this year and said they're going to turn it around, that's doing nothing but blindly saying it. There's no statistics or factual information to prove that that's really going to happen. You're just a fan of the Phillies, and you're praying that it's going to turn around, and you hope that it does. And right now it seems they are on a trend of doing that. But I also go back to this style of play that they played tonight. While it was an incredible game and fun and passionate, and the fans were going bonkers, and, the energy in the building and the buzz, the amount of calls I got, we're driving into Citizens Bank Park. We're close to Citizens Bank Park. This place is going nuts. All that. Is this winning baseball? I don't know. So there's like a line here for sure. But anyway, I digress. Let's hear a word from my sponsors. DraftKings Sportsbook. Not only my favorite sportsbook, but America's top-rated sportsbook. Speaking of America, our top athletes are over in Tokyo competing for the gold. And DraftKings has a medal-worthy offer just for my listeners. Listen to this great offer. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code BROADS when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. That's code BROADS to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. All right. You know what the deal is. It's the Anytime Hotline. The reaction to the game. How the game went. The fans, how do you feel? Here we go.
Let's go, Phillies! Let's go, Phillies! Bro, this time we are fucking shit-bombed at the game. And that's Gibson, 2 stars, 2 gems. Let's go. Gibson with a fat single through Javi Baez with 6 fingers. No way. Price over to the Evergreens in center field. First place, baby. Let's go! Let's go! All right. Thanks for having us.
Boys, I love it. That's what I'm talking about. That's the rise I'm talking about. That's what happens when Archie Bradley gives you a good fist pump. That's what happened when Kyle Gibson's on the mound, and after he gives you the fist pump inning, he gives you the whoa! He gives you the Ric Flair, whoa! I don't think Ric Flair did it like that once in his life, but I digress. It doesn't really matter. That is the beauty of it right now, and I'm just appreciating the moment. I still have my concerns. I still have my fears. I hate the defense. I can't stand the defense whatsoever, and I'm truly bothered by it because it's not what winning baseball teams do. At the end of the day, though, I hate the Mets. I despise the Mets. I can't stand seeing the orange and the blue. I can't stand New York Mets fans. It's a rivalry that we deserve to appreciate in the moment, and that's what I'm doing. So with that, this was great. Like, I woke up today, and I needed to have my coffee, right, as I always do, a cup of Joe, and we had coffee with Broads. But as I woke up, as I'm stretching, petting the dog, brushing my teeth, washing my face, you know what I was thinking about? Phillies Mets at Citizens Bank Park. It was the first thing that popped into my head in the middle of my morning. Like, as soon as I woke up, as I was processing my wake up, bang, bang. And I felt that off that call, baby. Shit bombed at CBP. As you should have been, baby. As you should have been.
Whew. A lot of Malox moments tonight, but they survived it. Solid win for the Phillies. We got first place, at least for now. Starting off with Bryce Harper. The guy is locked and loaded right now. I don't think he's been in a better stretch since he's come to the Phillies. Even his outs are hit on the nose. Gibson, not spectacular, but unfortunately he's going to learn real quick. Being a ground ball pitcher with that sieve defense behind you, bad combination. And I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of the big toe, Ronald Torreyes. You know, Alec Boehm is reminding me of Dave Hollins, a guy you're going to have to take out consistently late in games because that glove is so bad. While I'd like to be, you know, joyous about this win, don't look now, but the Atlanta Braves are the team that I fear. With DeGrom not being in there for the Mets, I think they're average at best, but the Braves are hot, and they're not going away.
No, they're not going away. And regardless of DeGrom being there or not, we know the storyline behind the Mets anyway when DeGrom has been on the bump, and it's the run support, the lack thereof. So there definitely is an element of that where it's their hitting. They just cannot hit. They cannot score. They cannot produce in that moment and in those at-bats, and that's very crucial to them getting wins or not getting wins. Now, I started to write some things down. If you notice, I started to nod and point. I could tell your tone and where it was going with Kyle Gibson when you said he's going to learn real quick. I started to write down ground ball pitcher. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for sure, and that was Brad Miller at first base. Rhys Hoskins at first base is going to make mistakes. Alec Boehm, look, I mean, people want to try and talk about the future with him and how you can hide him in left field and maybe you can put him at first base. This is going to be it no matter what. He's just not a strong defender. Now, I get it. Playing the hot corner compared to playing left field, it's two totally different things for sure, and it's less stress, but it's still stressful. Regardless, it's still stressful, and I'm very nervous for just, in general, the body frame and the structure and the baseball IQ of Alec Boehm, because I don't know what the hell that throw was to first base. The ball's getting floating around. What are we doing? And you talk about defensive replacements late. When you talk about meaningful games in August, meaningful games in September, does it matter if the run that is because of Alec Boehm happens in the second inning or eighth inning? No, it just matters that the run was scored. And speaking of scoring runs, my number one focus was take control early, score early. This Mets team is not feeling good about themselves. They're constantly asking themselves questions in the mirror. How do we change? How do we get better? What do we do differently? How do we win? And if you're putting them at a disadvantage because you're up 3-0, a team that has no confidence at the plate, now it's we got to score 3 runs to get back into this thing. They're already holding the bat too tightly. They're already overthinking all their mechanics when they're at the plate, thinking about, their swing and their delivery through the entire swing and all of it. Like, they're thinking and overthinking so much, and there's so much stress on them when it's 0-0. Now, it even intensifies a bit, and it's even more when it's 3-0 or 4-0. And it ended up getting 1-0 because of Didi. Then there was some small ball in play. It's 1-1. Kyle Gibson knocks in Brad Miller over at third base because of the Conforto play at the right field wall. Now it's 2-1, but that Bryce bomb really blew things open, and clearly it was monstrous considering how we saw Ian Kennedy pitch. That's for damn sure. Now, you brought up, you said Gibson was okay. He went 6 innings, allowed 1 earned run. Now, there were a couple of walks in there I didn't love. He had 4 walk batters. But ultimately, I mean, he did exactly what you anticipated seeing from Kyle Gibson, what you've seen all year out of him in one of his best seasons as a pro. This is it. These are the expectations. So I thought it was a little bit better than what you're giving him credit for, but I understand where you're coming from because there were problems. There was bases loaded that you got out of. There was a leadoff double in that 5th inning. Like there were, or was it 5th or 6th inning? Regardless, that did happen. It was McNeil. Can't happen. I'm with you. I understand.
If you were to tell me a month ago that the Phillies would be in first place in the NL East in August, I would say, actually, that's not that implausible concerning how much of a crapshoot the NL East is. But at the same time, this team was dead in the water. It seemed like for most of the season, they've waken up, 6 straight wins, and it's really fun right now. And Bryce Harper continues to create his MVP case, and one night for the Phils.
Yeah, the whole MVP thing, I understand why people are all passionate about it and screaming it and right now, Fernando Tatis, Bryce Harper, Freddie Freeman. I mean, those are 3 names that are being flown around with the NL MVP race right now. And if Fernando Tatis Jr. comes back and becomes healthy and he continues where he was before the injury happened when he was sliding to third base, you'll probably see him win it. And then, or if that's not the case, if he doesn't win it and he's not able to produce that same way, whoever wins this division might. I guess for me personally, while I admire that and it's always cool and awesome to appreciate and understand what an MVP type of season is and how important that is to a franchise and how awesome and special that is, I don't put as much emphasis on it as much as others do. Regardless if he wins it or not, what Bryce Harper did has put us on this awesome journey. The hardware doesn't change that. Whether he wins it or doesn't win it. Joel Embiid's season this past season, whether he had the same season and won it or didn't win it, he still gave me that same season and still gave me those 40 and 20 nights. Still gave me those 46-point nights. Still gave me those explosive dominant nights. So regardless if Bryce gets it or not, whether he gets canned or he gets hosed or, you know, he should have won it and did whatever. I mean, he still gave me the baseball games, and to me, that's what I care about the most. And you're right, if you told me a week ago that they'd be in first place, I'd probably laugh in your face. But here we are, and it is reality. Let's take another one here.
Well. Even Kyle Gibson with the run batted in. Double play after double play for Gibson. His pitch count got a little high, but we are indeed a first-place baseball team. In terms of the New York Mets, though, you know you're a poverty franchise when you go bases loaded with no out and then...
But you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Okay, how about that? Throwing a little how do you doing there, getting creative with the Anytime Hotline. Yeah, I mean, that's what this Mets team has been about all season long, though. We've broken down where the Mets are as a team statistically, batting average-wise, OPS-wise, a handful of different times this season. They're in that bottom half, and that's not going to be successful. That's not going to help you. Now, I mean, you can look at it the other way. When the Phillies were last place, literally 30th in the league in defensive runs saved, that's not a winning product either, right? Someone has to win. By default, this is going to go down where someone has to win, but the Phillies took control of it all with Bryce Harper. I can't believe Diaz pointed his finger up as if he seriously, thought that was a pop-up to center field. That ball was crushed, dude. That ball was crushed. What an idiot. With that being said, I'm going to shut it down here. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Sports Talk with Broads, and I will see you tomorrow after the 4 o'clock game. Let's see if they can win the series tomorrow. They can win the series tomorrow with Ranger Suarez, huh? How about that? Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.